Okay, we should be good. Right.
Cool.
So I'll go into my first question here, which is just about that. You mentioned on Twitter that you'd been struggling with a fifth place curse. What do you think was the
Mhm.
difference that allowed you to break that curse? Let's shut up and fight.
So after, for context, after Combo Breaker, I did a lot worse than I wanted to because I wasn't really preparing very well for that tournament. And so when I got back, I put in a lot of effort, and part of that was entering tournaments, online tournaments. And then I got those three fifth places in a row, and I was a little frustrated. But then I took some time off from playing in brackets and decided to, really hit training mode and like lab out these things that were difficult for me, especially some problematic matchups. Although I didn't really run into too many that I labbed out because one of them was Zato actually. Um,
Yeah.
it was a lot of just like really, instead of just playing, it was a lot of thinking through both like what I wanted to do in neutral and how I wanted to like approach the enemy. It's very like general vague stuff, but because for me, I always found that I played very intuitively or by feel, I guess is what people say.
Yeah.
But the more I kind of refine the game plan to be very like more clear in my head, I find that it's been working wonders for me. So it was definitely like between those brackets and Shut Up and Fight, I think a lot of it was literally like writing down my thoughts because like Krakatoa is in my local, and that's something that he does a lot. And so I was watching his stream and I was like, hey, I should do that, and then I did it and it helped a lot.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, totally. I mean, you say that it's sort of general stuff, but it's crazy how many players don't really like just stay playing by feel the whole time and don't really develop their strategy too much beyond that, right?
Yeah, it was and that's how I played fighting games for the most part, really, until like recently. I mean, I started playing in 2019 with Dragon Ball, like started season 2, and that was a game I could kind of get away with it almost, because that game's much more about movement and kind of dancing around your opponent, calling assists in certain ways, and you get a really strong intuition for that if you play enough. But something like Guilty Gear Strive is very different, at least for I felt. And it was very difficult to transition between games when Strive came out because I was very lost on the ground, and so a lot of what I was working on was like whiff punishing and like checking people's dashes and stuff like that. So like refining that game plan and having it really crystal clear of like what I want to look for in each matchup helped me a lot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And do you think that the difference in the games, like the characters in Dragon Ball, I think from what I understand, are a bit more similar to each other generally? Like
Yeah.
the sort of universal mechanics are available to everyone, whereas in Strive, like characters have different health pools and very, very different options. Do you think that had an impact on your sort of change in style as well?
Yeah, it was very strange because I knew I didn't really play old Guilty Gears before Strive. I had messed around with Exerd with my local people, but it was never really a super serious thing for me. So coming into this game where you're not just like looking to get like you just jump over someone and use a DP assist. Now you have to look out for this character's, far slash, but you want to look out for this character's like 2S or whatever. Or they're going to approach in this kind of way and it's really fast, so you need to act preemptively instead of, being proactive all the time. That was really hard. And I think something that helped me a lot was when the game first came out, I just played a ton. I just like a ton of Celestial, getting used to the characters. I think I wasn't too disadvantaged though, just because this game is quite a bit different from older Guilty Gears. So I think even, although probably, Guilty Gear veterans had, a head start, I didn't feel like I was too far behind. I feel like I picked that up fairly quickly, just like, but there for a long time, I couldn't tell the difference between Chip's far slash and close slash. I thought they looked the exact same. So there was some stuff like that where I was like, I don't know, like, are you using this move? Is it this minus? Is it that minus? Like, and punishing things on block, like that's crazy, And the other difference between the two games is in Dragon Ball, a large part of the offense is like stagger pressure, right? Because the whole thing is like they might cancel into something and they might late cancel into something and they could just use an assist and stuff like that. But in Guilty Gear Strive, a lot of it, I had to learn how to mash better. Because in Dragon Ball, it almost has that like uniclear feel where it's like you can block for a really long time as long as you're reacting well enough. Obviously, there are 50-50s in that game that you can force, but there was that like essence of like I'm just gonna sit here and block, especially if you don't have any assists. I'm just gonna chill until it's my turn. But in Guilty Gear Strive, you can't do that because obviously like there's real strike throw and people have mix-ups, and so I had to learn to like press buttons sometimes, and that was really scary. Because sometimes you press buttons and you literally just lose the game. So
yeah, it's
I thought sorry, go.
It's a bit funny how mashing has sort of a bad connotation, right? But it is legitimately a skill that you have to practice too, right?
Yeah, it was. It took me a while to really just start mashing, but the more you mash, the more you realize like, oh, this is actually a good place to mash, or this is like a lot less likely to work out. And that's actually something I try to incorporate a lot because I think it fits well in a strange way. Because a lot of people say that I'm very patient compared to other Mei players in neutral. Yep. So I'm playing this really patient neutral. I think people expect me to be patient on defense too, which actually lets me get away with more matching. Because I try to do faker things expecting me to wait, and then it just works out for me, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and speaking of mashing, the latest patch added the counter hit state on light, as well as a lot of other changes. Do you think that the latest patch was beneficial to Mei?
Yeah, so it's actually funny. I was talking about it earlier with Pluto, another really, really strong Mei player. Yeah. Top 8 at Combo Breaker, yeah. And we were talking about like, man, like don't tell anybody. This is gonna be between us, but like Mei is super broken right now. She's so strong. The 5k counter hit into 6h comboing is absurdly good. Because before, at that kind of 5k range, a lot of the time we would just press 2S or far slash. And the reward, like if you do 2S or far slash into like horizontal S dolphin, you were around +5 depending on the range. And sometimes they would be able to block before the S dolphin even touched them. Now with the 5k counter hit comboing into 6h, like that range, if you're blocking against Mei, is so much scarier. That it opens up way more like offensive kind of strategies, right? Where you can, instead of just doing like a normal and then making them be like, oh, are they gonna press dolphin? Should I 6p? Should I delay 6p? Stuff like that. Now if you try to press something and you're wrong, you die. You actually lose the game. So it was super useful, and it makes her kind of like mid-range Bahre, I guess if you want to call it that, way scarier as well, right? Because you also get 2k 6h as a combo, which is really nice because if you FD close slash and I do 2k, it still reaches, but 2D will whiff. So if people used to mash after close slash a lot if they thought I wasn't gonna cancel into like 5h, for example, or 6h or something. Yeah. But now if you do that, you die still. So her offense got way better, and I think her mid-range got better too, which is kind of crazy because that was her whole thing before. Yeah. So yeah, I think the changes helped her a lot actually.
That's pretty interesting because I mean, I'm no Mei player myself, but one of the things that I noticed about her is you have moves with a lot of range, but it's kind of hard to access them, right? Like if you're poking with 2S, you can't Gatling into 6H and stuff like that. So that makes a lot of sense that 5k into 6H would be so beneficial.
Yeah, one of the problems I had with Mei last patch, even though she was good, very strong, she had a rougher time contending with top tiers because her whiff punish and like if you stuff someone in like the startup of a move, that whole like game plan she had was very unrewarding, right? Because you would get 2S into like horizontal S dolphin and you were -2 if you didn't like get the counter hit slowdown, which really sucked. Because if you're playing against someone like Nagoriyuki or Ram and you're just making yourself minus constantly, it's like, man, I just have to RPS and be right so often. And you still kind of do that now, but just with far better reward if you're right, which is really cool, I think.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about a lot of the top tier characters, right? Is they get full combos out of their
Mm.
pokes, right?
Mm.
And like in sort of whiff punish situations. So that makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
Okay, moving on to talk a little bit about some of the moments in the tournament.
Mm.
When you were fighting against Stealthy, you landed the 2H into Great Yamada combo where you get to pick them up afterwards.
Yeah.
What's your favorite combo to do as Mei? And are there any cool combos that we didn't get to see?
Oh man, favorite combo. There's something really cool. Maybe you've seen it like around on Twitter where if you're S Dolphin, so if you do something like regular hit 2H, right? And you get horizontal S Dolphin, you can hit them such that you're on the other side of them and they tumble into you. And on regular hit, you can pick up off of that. But it's really, really precise. It's actually easier this patch because of the increased active frames, because the way it works is like, as long as you're in active frames and you're past them and you still hit them, you can pick up off of that. It's really, really tough. But for more consistent stuff, there's a lot of cool combos that I think we're still kind of getting the muscle memory for, so I didn't really get to show it off. But a lot of Mei's combos now include whiffing a horizontal S Dolphin, which is really, really cool. You're gonna start seeing a lot of things that are like red RC backwards, charge 6H into whiff S Dolphin. Or like if you get like a counter hit anti-air, like a 5P, you will go into like close slash 2H with horizontal S Dolphin into like 2K 6H or something like that. So there's a lot of routes. They're so cool, and the thing is that they're actually really consistent. But I think people are gonna start losing their minds when we start doing them because they look super cool. But yeah, it's just a matter of getting the muscle memory down, so I didn't really get a chance to show them. One of my favorite combos that got patched out because of the close slash change, like too many close slashes in a combo increased the gravity faster, was literally like 4 close slashes, BRC into 3 close slashes into BRC into 3 more close slashes. That was one of my favorite things, because a lot of Mei's optimal combos before this patch was literally like 4 close slashes, 2H, H Dolphin. So it was like, it was just funny. And like, to me, it was like, at some point I started getting bored of it, but it was really funny if I like anti-air close slash, like one of my friends plays Milia, so I'd anti-air close slash him and then just do like 5 close slashes and he would die. And I thought that was so funny.
And you can bait the burst at any point too, right? So
yeah, exactly. It becomes this mixed up where it's like, am I gonna do 2H on this close slash and the next one, right? And I think probably my favorite overall combo, and I did this on stream at Combo Breaker, and it made Sajam and I think it was Saint Cola. They were like, "What the hell was that combo?" Was if you get counter hit 6H, you can do 2K 6K, and the 6K will bounce them off the ground. You can do 2K 6H, and you can combo. Which is one of my favorite things. Like 6K hitting someone in the air ground bounces them, which is really rare. You mostly see it off like catching backdashes. But that one's always fun because whenever I do it on someone's stream, everyone in chat is like, "What the hell is that combo?" But yeah, there's a lot of cool new routes that I'm hoping to show off, but it's gonna take a little bit.
yeah, I think you definitely impressed Kizzy with the Great Yamada combo. I don't think you'd seen that one before.
Yeah, that shit does too much damage. It's so good, and just the damage overall actually in this patch Mei is gonna do more, but yeah that combo is insane. Yeah, no, it's crazy because so many buttons said, "Oh, less damage," and I had a feeling this was the case, but yeah, they did just lower the base damage, not the scaling. So she is going to do crazy damage still. In fact, we're pretty sure she does more damage than last patch.
Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot for many of the different characters where it's like, oh, you know, like damage nerf, but in actuality, it's been damage buffs because of the changes to combos, right?
Yeah, and the red RC change as well is just insane. Like, I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, as a chip player, I'm definitely eating. Like, my run combos are so much more damaging now.
Yeah. Although I don't know, I hear people are dooming about Chip. I don't know.
Yeah, I think some of the stuff that was fun about him got changed in a way that's a little more straightforward. But I think the consensus is that he's better, but a little less fun in some ways.
Okay.
Just because they changed some of the what is it, Seshu combos. And stuff.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but at least it's like a real overhead now.
Yeah, that I can't block that anymore. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's actually pretty hard to react to. Same with Rin, right? Or yeah.
Yeah, Rin is. I feel like I don't know. Maybe this is just not true at all. But Rin, I feel like is easier to block because it's Anji players and they're more predictable. But maybe that's just me.
Oh, shots fired.
Shot.
Yeah. So in your run, you not only beat one Happy Chaos player, but you beat two. Do you feel like the changes from the last patch had an impact on the May Happy Chaos matchup?
Yes, but I was actually thinking about this earlier because I was like, I wonder why I won those two matches, and I actually think look, because I watched them back because you're supposed to watch your VODs even though you lose or whatever.
Yep.
And I was watching, and I think if this was the previous patch, I mean, obviously they would have gone differently because it was a different game. But we didn't really utilize or like take advantage of the buffs and nerfs as much as I thought that we did, like both me and Umisho and Kurogio. Just other than like the mix-up that Umisho did on me, but because I was looking at it and I was like, oh, obviously like a couple combo routes like here and there or whatever that I did helped, but I think overall I had a strong grasp on the Happy Chaos matchup to begin with. And just Mei getting a little bit stronger in the mid-range just helped a lot. And because I thought before, the way I treat the Happy Chaos matchup is basically Leo with a gun, where he can zone you, and before he did zone you, but now it's more like he has to run his offense to a certain degree. And if he's doing like certain strings that you can just grab, like a lot of the time if he does close slash 5D, you can just grab that. Or if he's doing 5k, 6k, you can grab that, stuff like that. And like roll, you can grab. So it really, like, to me is like, I'm gonna chill and let you basically hang yourself. Because you're gonna have to use resources. And if you're gonna keep your block strings safe, there's no real like, I mean, obviously I'm taking chip damage and you can do mix up at any time and it's still hard to block. Like Happy Chaos is still really good, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying he's easy to beat by any means, but it's that kind of like style where I'm like, I'm just gonna chill and let you do your thing, and then I'm gonna look for like my moments, especially if I have meter, right?
Yeah.
And so I felt like I had a strong idea on the matchup before the patch, and then this patch kind of helped me because I was frustrated with Happy Chaos because he was so good at zoning, and you always got accidental backdashes because of the way the dash macro worked, but they fixed that. And then he could choose whenever he wanted to go in. But now it feels more like I have a lot of control in the mid-range. Like when I was playing Umisho especially, I felt like I was in control of the neutral, and like Umisho was moving around me, which is way different than how it used to be. Because that matchup before was not very good. Like Mei is really slow on the ground, so dash blocking took forever to get to Happy Chaos. But now they don't really want to zone because they want to keep the resources, and so like all of those things together, like I was already good at the matchup, and I think the way that I play it got buffed basically by the Happy Chaos changes, helped me to win both of those matches.
Yeah, it's crazy how much who has to approach can change a matchup, right?
Yeah, it was because especially I think Mei in that mid-range against Happy Chaos has some of the better answers to like when Happy Chaos wants to go in.
Yeah.
Because just like being able to interrupt his forward movement, like with either 6S or just like his dash with horizontal S Dolphin, and getting like even just like on regular hit, even though I'm -2, like if Happy Chaos presses 2S, I jump over it, and he can't 6B anti-air in time, like my JS will hit the 6B.
Yeah.
And if he does 6S or far slash, I can 6P it. So it's like it's really just like about stressing the Happy Chaos player out, making them feel like they need to take a preemptive move, and then working around that and getting your own hit and putting them in the corner. Because once you have Happy Chaos in the corner, you should basically kill him. Yeah, so just like getting that approach buffed was really nice.
Yeah. On the topic of RPS after S Dolphin, a lot of characters got 9-frame far slashes, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I was watching your stream, and you were talking about how Baiken got a 9-frame far slash. How do you feel those changes will affect Mei's pressure?
It's really annoying actually, because so the way 9-frame far slashes work is if you as Dolphin, you're -5 and you have 4 frames of pre-jump, meaning if they hit a 9-frame move and it hits you, it'll just catch you in your pre-jump,
Yeah.
which is really annoying. It's one of the reasons I really hated the chip matchup before, and probably still do, but I haven't played it that much. But yeah, it like Baiken, I thought, and I talked to other Baiken players. Like I was talking to Shin Phil, who's a homie, and I was talking to another one of my like local friends who plays Baiken, and we all kind of agreed that Baiken already fought Mei pretty well in the last patch. But now it's like, and I was talking to other Mei players, and we were all like, dude, I hate fighting this fucking character now. That it's like really hard to move around. Just kind of in general, Yozongton is huge and it hits 2H a lot of the time. Same with JS, so you kind of have to go for your lower reward anti-air a lot in the kind of most aerial situations. And then post S Dolphin, she can obviously hit far slash. It can be 6 speed, but it just means that our kind of mobility is limited, and if we do kind of RPS wrong, we get punished way harder than before. And Baiken overall is just that she got buffed in a lot of ways that makes it hard to move. And so when she kind of locks you down, obviously the H Kabari follow-up can be punished by 2k 2d most of the time now, which is nice. But even stuff like if she blocks horizontal H Dolphin and we do horizontal S Dolphin to catch like a 6-spear or like a mash or something, she can just parry it, right? I think parry is really, really good, especially because well, maybe not so much anymore, but especially last patch, because Mei was doing so many safe jumps, it kind of felt like a lot of the time you were RPSing in your own pressure because the parry is just so strong. And she also had, I'm pretty sure she has like parry, Kara, PRC super or something like that. It's like trying to pressure that character and being pressured by her both got harder for Mei, I think. So that a lot of that is the 9-frame normal. And it's kind of the same way with Chip. The only difference is like Baiken on the ground is a lot slower than someone like Chip, and she has more committal normals like 2H, so I don't think it's as bad as it could be. But it definitely got worse because of that 9-frame normal, where it's like I want to jump and I want to cause chaos against this character, but she can kind of just tell me to sit down, which made it a lot harder.
Yeah. Nothing will make you sit down like getting parried, right?
Oh man, it's so annoying.
Yeah. On the topic of matchups, since we were talking about Happy Chaos and Baiken, which characters do you think got harder to fight for Mei besides Baiken? And which characters do you think got easier to fight after the patch?
Oh man, probably so harder is definitely, I think. So I already thought Kai was really hard. I think it's way worse now. That character got a lot of buffs, and we got buffs too, and it's probably not so bad once I actually sit down and like really grind the matchup. But I've always found fighting that character really, really annoying. His normals got buffed, which is I already thought whiff punishing him was hard, because what I used to do was so 3k is 11 frames from Mei, and Kai's far slash would dodge 2d. So okay, let me step back. My plan was if he whiffs 2s, I'll whiff punish with 2d, I get a hard knockdown. But if he does far slash, my 2d will go under it and not whiff punish him. So my solution was I would just use 3k for both. Yeah. And now the hard knockdown from 3k is gone. So even if I do that, the reward is like we basically go back to neutral because I'm so far away from him. And he has kind of almost, maybe not better buttons, but a lot of the time they're really difficult to contest, right? And especially with his fireball game. So that matchup I feel like got way harder. And then Ram as well just got better for some reason. I don't know who decided that was okay, but Ram feels really, really difficult. We were talking, me, Slash, and Pluto. We were like, this matchup is at least like 6-4 for Ram, but probably worse for Mei. Just because, I mean, her pressure was already ridiculous, and now with like the Dash Kara stuff, and the counter hit on lights actually help Ram a lot, I found, and are really, really annoying to deal with. And it's so hard to contest with 5k against that character that the 5k counter interchange matters less for Mei, I found in that matchup. So that matchup feels so, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. When I was fighting Red Ditto, actually, I mean, I know I made a lot of mistakes. Like every time Red Ditto had RC, I knew he would grab and then PRC, and I just pressed JH anyway because I was an idiot. But in neutral, I'm not really sure. And then flip kick is like impossible to hit for some reason. All my anti-airs lose to it. So I'm just like, man, Ram's pretty good, I think. So I definitely got harder. For easier, it's weird because I haven't played too many matchups. So it's hard to say, right? Like there are some matchups that I think Giovanna might be easier.
Yeah.
Just because you don't because like now if you IB flip kick, it's like a guaranteed punish instead of like a mini game. It's like, okay, I'm gonna grab, or you're gonna jump, or you're gonna try to press something to catch my backdash, stuff like that. I think she's much easier to deal with just because before you used to kind of pressure each other the same and play like a very similar neutral game. So it's pretty much even. But now I think Giovanna is like, she's mostly just like changed. She's just like different. But I think she is slightly worse because of the flip kick change in particular.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely got a little bit easier. But overall, I feel like I haven't tried too many matchups. Axel is one that I'm still iffy about because I was playing Remy Celeste because we're from like the same general area, like we're both from Ontario.
Yeah.
And he was pressing a lot of far slash, and I was like, I don't know what to do about this button anymore because it is so large and in charge, and it's faster, and the disjoint and everything. And I was like, I'm pretty sure Axel far slash goes farther than my 2S now. So I was like, man, this is like really hard to deal with. But I'm not sure if that was just me being unfamiliar or if the matchup got worse. Because I think we agreed, him and I, that May definitely used to win slightly in that matchup. But now it felt closer to even, but I'm not sure. So basically I'm just saying I don't know. I don't know yet. I'll find out as I play more.
Yeah, it's still pretty insightful, but you know, since the patch is so new, I don't blame you for being unsure still, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, another thing that I wanted to ask you about is I was watching your stream, and I think you were talking about the situation after they block vertical dolphin. It's like the way you were using it in the tournament. It seemed like you were plus afterwards, but you were talking about 6P. Could you elaborate a little bit on that situation?
Yeah, so I thought you could still 6P, but it's actually +9 if you block the downwards one, so it's a true block string into JP. Okay. But the real counterplay, and this was in the old patch as well. This has actually been for all time. If you're in the corner and you see them up like vertical H dolphin, you can press forward for literally 1 frame and it'll whiff, and you can punish her. And you can actually get a counter hit punish if you're fast enough. And I was playing against my friend Des, who's a really strong Axel from Ontario as well. I used to spam up H Dolphin against him because before this patch, because nobody knew how to deal with it. And then he pressed forward and like walked out of the corner and got like a full counter hit combo as Axel and like against the corner because you put yourself in the corner as May. Yeah. And then I died and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll stop using that move then. Yeah, it's you literally just press forward. I mean, obviously, there's like since May's pressure is there's a lot more to it now. Like May's offense in general, it's harder to look out for. But I think it's a fairly easy if you practice just like reacting to it as she's like just doing her usual thing of like 2S 5K. It's not too bad. It's actually it's kind of free, but. Yeah, I was talking about it with the other May players, and we were like, yeah, we're probably gonna have to stop using this soon because people are gonna start pressing forward and killing us for it.
I see. That's pretty interesting. Okay, so again, going back to the tournament in your run, you had the 5th place curse before this tournament, and then you know, you were playing, and eventually you made it to a point where you were in top 4. What was going through your head at that point?
Oh, I mean, I think I beat Kudo Geo for top 4, right? And so I mean, okay, to be completely honest, after I beat Umisho, I kind of popped off a bit because you know, Umisho's like such an excellent player and like definitely the best player I've beat in a tournament. And so I had emotions were running high. And then after I beat Kudogio, I was like, oh my god, I did it! Like my curse is broken. I'm so happy right now. And then going into my match with Flash, so I was basically running off of that.
Yeah.
And I hadn't played. I actually had not played against a Kai period before that match in the new patch. So I didn't really know what to expect, but I was watching Flash play on stream, and his Kai was super clean, doing like FD cancel turnarounds for safe jumps and like left rights and stuff like that. So I had a little bit of an idea what to expect. But I was like, every match I played in that top 8, I was like really nervous, basically. I have pretty bad tournament nerves. I get like pretty shaky, and it shows with like a lot of my execution errors. Like one of the rounds against Flash, it was 1-1. And we were both like 1 HP, I think, and I was knocked down. And he runs up, and I think he baited my super with backdash, and I just did 6H on wake up. That was a misinput on super, and but it happened, and it killed him. And I said, you know what, we take those 2-1. So my thought going into like the top 4 matches was like, you know what, you know, you've had like I've already had such a good run. Like I'm already like happy with how I'm playing. Like I'm playing pretty clean. I'm just gonna go and do my best, and if I lose, it is what it is, kind of thing. And I actually think that helped me play better than usual, because a lot of time I'm like very hard on myself, and it makes me play worse. I mean, it sounds obvious, but you know, it's kind of a hard mentality thing to fix.
Yeah.
But it's very much like I'm happy with how I'm doing. I'm just gonna go in and do my best.
Yeah, no, totally. It's one thing to theorize on, you know, how you should be thinking, and it's a completely another thing to be able to change your mentality in the tournament, right?
Yeah, it's something that I've been working on since I started playing fighting games, basically. Because I mean, especially in Dragon Ball, I used to get really, really mad, just like stupid angry, and it got to the point where like my locals and like my friends were like, "Listen, like you got to do something, because it's like starting to get like not fun to play with you." And I was like, oh shit, okay, like that's like a big deal. And so and then so I obviously I tamed that part down, but then it's a totally different thing to like have like a tournament mentality. So that now that's basically what I'm working on, is like consistently getting that feeling of like, okay, I'm going against this person who I know is good, but I'm just gonna do my best because I know that I'm also like a competent player, and I like know the matchup, or like I have these ideas about the matchup, whatever, and not going in and being like, okay, I'm probably gonna lose, but you know, you know, just like having some level of confidence is good, but not so much that when you lose, you just get pissed off, right?
Yeah, totally. Speaking of salt and DBFZ, do you feel like you get saltier playing Strive or DBFZ?
Oh, definitely Dragon Ball. The Dragon Ball. Oh man, I think a lot of it was the net play, because as everyone knows, netcode in that game not great, not excellent. And then people moved to cloud servers, which felt like really bad on my end. I never figured out why. Just parsec maybe. But yeah, Dragon Ball. Not to go into specifics, but that game really pissed me off. Like Strive, I think when I get angry, it's always at myself for not doing like very specific things. Like if I'm like, okay, I want to work on like doing this execution based thing or whatever, like this combo or this sequence or whatever, and I go for it and I like miss it several times, that's when I'll start to get angry, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like in Dragon Ball, it was like me like blaming like the characters or like the netcode or whatever. But in Strive, when I get angry, it's all on myself for sure.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and I was gonna ask about the netcode, right? The different netcode in Strive. Do you feel like it's affected your ability to improve as a player? Do you find yourself getting most of your practice online or at your locals?
Yeah, definitely most of my practice is online, and it's like the quality of the netcode is shocking sometimes, because I'll be playing a set and I'll lose a round or take a round or something, and then I'll look up and I won't feel a thing. It's like pristine, right?
Yeah.
And I'll look up and it's like 110 ms 3 rollback, and I didn't even notice. And it's like, it's so crazy to me coming from Dragon Ball when I started playing this game, because I was like, I can play people in a different country and it like kind of works. Whereas like if you tried that in Dragon Ball, the game would probably just close. It would just say, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, not allowed.
Yeah, you actually just can't do that. It's illegal. And so in Strive, like, especially with like COVID and everything, but also just because, so when Strive came out, I was living in a different city, and nobody else really played the game. So it was really nice that it had such a like excellent netcode for me because I could play my friends in other cities, in other provinces, or in the States or wherever, and I could get like really good practice like most of the time. Like obviously sometimes you get like a bad like Mexico to Canada connection, like
Yeah.
really south to really north. But for the most part, even Mexico to Canada, a lot of the time is perfectly fine. So definitely like most of my practice is online, and I feel like it's really good for practice.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's definitely, I know that it's definitely helped me a lot, during COVID and all that. And, I didn't know anyone in the FGC in Vancouver, so it was very helpful to be able to just play whoever.
Yeah, no, it's so nice, and it's just like, I mean, I know there was that whole like Say Jam thing about rollbackia and getting rollback into games and stuff, but really I think that is a large reason why that happened, and I think just people appreciating rollback netcode is going to do a lot for fighting games because it is. I can't state how much it helps people like us who didn't know anybody to play with, and then we could just play with anybody. Like that, like the difference is just ginormous, right? Whereas like if you play something like Dragon Ball or any delay-based game, really, you have to find people to play with, and if you don't know anybody, it's you're not gonna play the game basically. So yeah, no, it's amazing, it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So you live in, you said, Ottawa?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a fellow Canadian, how do you feel about the difference in player strength in Canada versus the US?
Oh, I mean, it's something that's come up before in certain people's, beef or opinions or whatever. I mean, I think I can say clearly and with like, if I'm being honest, like America is obviously better. But just because they're obviously better doesn't mean that it's by a huge amount. And especially like I feel as though okay, let me give the real situation what happened. Basically, we all signed up for Combo Breaker, and then like a month or two before the game, we all stopped playing Guilty Gear. I don't know why that happened, but we all kind of, I feel like we burnt ourselves out, and just like as a group, we just kind of moved on to other things. We started playing things like Valorant and shit.
Yeah.
And so when we went to Combo Breaker, we had some pretty. I mean, we didn't do that bad, right? We got some like 33rd, I think was our highest, which is like it's not like top 8, but it's not bad,
Well,
and
didn't,
so
didn't Peppery Splash get top 8?
Oh right, Peppery got top 8. Yeah, what am I saying? Yeah, so Peppery got top 8. I thought Tester Luck might have got 33rd. I don't remember what he got, but we did like not amazing, but not terrible. But I think right now we're all putting a lot more time into the game. I mean, obviously, I don't speak for all of Canada. There's players that I like recently learned were Canadian, like Smitty, who is in Alberta? Question mark. I don't know actually. No, New Brunswick. I think he's in New Brunswick. Anyway, so there's a lot of people that I don't know, and people that I only fought once. Like in Arc Revo, I fought Beemeister. I had no idea who he was, and he just showed up and beat me. So yeah, like America, I think is definitely stronger. They're definitely practiced more consistently and with better people. But the more time that I put into the game, the more time I really believe that Canada is actually pretty good. But we do fall under the curse of like only a few of us really enter tournaments ever. So it's kind of hard to say, like it's kind of hard for people to see that we're good at the game and getting better at the game. Because like people who enter tournaments right now that I know are Canadian is like me, Remy Celeste, and Smitty that I've seen, right? And I'm sure there's more, but for me, that's who I know is Canadian and entering tournaments, and then everyone else basically is either American for the most part or like Mexican players.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like I know that people are playing and getting better, but I'm not surprised that people would be like, Canada doesn't play the game except Peppery Splash, So. But I'm hoping to change that.
Yeah, for sure. It's always I'm always happy to see Canadian players putting in top results.
Mhm.
Um, okay, so um, we were talking about DBFZ and
Hmm.
you know, like sort of the differences in the game. Was DBFZ your first fighting game, or did you play other fighting games before?
So Dragon Ball was my first like real quote unquote fighting game, if you want to think of it like that, because the game I played before that was Toho Hiso Tensoku, which is one of the Toho fighting games. It was that there's a side tournament Combo Breaker. Is probably how most people will have heard of it, is my guess. But I played that in around I was like probably 2017-ish for a couple years, something like that, or it was like probably like 2016 for a couple years, and then but that game, like that was a game because I that was basically my first fighting game, and I had no idea what I was doing really, so I just played the game. Didn't know frame data coming out of like going into Dragon Ball. I didn't know what frame data was,
Yeah.
and so and that game is very very different from every other fighting game. Like you can fly around. There's no like you don't get opened up by high low. You like lose like a spirit orb, and then if you lose all your spirit orbs, then you get guard crushed and stuff like that. So it's very very different. So that didn't really help me at all going into Dragon Ball. Obviously I had some idea of like what like you want to do kind of a neutral, like the way you want to like hit people and do a combo. So like that helped, I guess. But that was really my first fighting game. Other than like when I was 12, my friend was like, "Hey, you heard of this game called Melty Blood?" And I was like, "No." And then I learned a combo, and that was it. But yeah, it was mostly Hiso Tensoku was my first fighting game, really. But when I got into Dragon Ball, that was like when I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn this game like for real. And then my first tournament was in July 2019 in Toronto, for Toryukin, and I got top 8, and I was so happy. I was like the happiest kid. Well, I say kid, I was like 20, I think. But yeah, no, that so Dragon Ball was like the first time I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and like learn a fighting game. And before that, you like mess around, you like. The reason actually I had a fight stick was because I watched Guilty Gear Xrd's Evo finals. Or it was Evo, or it was like CEO Otaku or something. It was some tournament, and I was like, man, I really want to learn Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2. And so I bought a $200 fight stick and never touched it. And then Dragon Ball came out, and my friends in California were playing it, so we would play it together. Which is funny because the netcode's not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we would play in like very rough 4 or 5 frames. And that's how I started playing fighting games, which is very funny to me.
I think Dragon Ball was a lot of people's first fighting games. Or first fighting. Yeah. Like for me, I'd played a lot of fighting games, but the first game that sort of got me interested in playing games competitively again was also Dragon Ball.
Yeah, it's such a popular IP, and so many people were playing it that a lot of people jumped in and were like, oh wait, this is actually like the competitive side's kind of cool, especially with all the comparisons to Marvel and stuff, because it's a tag fighter. I think a lot of people were like, man, I can go on stage and like beat someone up with, I don't know, TN. That's cool, I guess.
Yeah.
and like Cell Yell and everything, and so yeah. I'm not surprised if a lot of people's first competitive game was like Dragon Ball. Because it was definitely the first game for me where I considered like competitive gaming. Like before that I played like League of Legends and got like Diamond 5, and I was like, okay, that was fun.
Oh
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, I played a lot of League too.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much all the questions I have. Yeah. So thank you so much for doing the interview. I was very happy to see you perform so well at Shut Up and Fight, and I'm hoping to see you again next month too.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for having me, by the way.
Oh, of course. Is there anything that you'd like to plug? Twitch, Twitter, anything like that?
I'm gonna get to streaming soon, but not yet. So just follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/CoreyDachi. That's CoreyDachi. And I'll tweet at some point and be like, hey, I upgraded my computer, I'm streaming. Because by the end of my last stream, my computer was exploding. So
Oh yeah, yeah. My PC
Yeah.
is not that good for for
Yeah, I
Guilty
feel
Gear
that.
either.
yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much, and see you next. Shut up and fight.
Yeah, I'll be there. See ya.